Olá! Boas-vindas às conversas internacionais da Move Concreto, Mostra Internacional de Videodança, edição Catas Altas. Nossa programação virtual vai até o dia 9 de julho com exibições de videodanças, ações formativas e bate-papos. Tudo isso com acessibilidade. Então acesse o nosso site moveconcreto.com, as redes sociais do Grupo Contemporâneo de Dança Livre e aqui o nosso canal no YouTube. E hoje teremos um bate-papo em dose tripla. Com a mediação da artista Raquel Pires, vamos ouvir os caminhos das obras The Enchanted Land, da Irlanda, e a Wake e Physical Culture dos Países Baixos. Aproveitem e não esqueçam de assistir à nossa programação. Até mais!
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Move Concreto. Welcome to Brazil, even if it's virtual. It's an honor for us to have you here. Thank you for submitting your work and congratulations on being selected. This is the 7th edition of this event, and the Contemporary Dance Group is celebrating 15 years of trajectory. So it's a special year for them too. Your work will be shown. I will just introduce that because that will lead to my first question. Your work will be shown in a small town in Brazil called Catas Altas in the state of Minas Gerais, and in an open space and also in virtual format. And this year's edition includes 12 different countries that are participating with works and 7 Brazilian different states. So in Brazil, it has been a growing movement of decentralizing access to culture, bringing to more remote towns and communities that often don't have much exposure to contemporary art and film. So your work will be shown to a remote town, probably for people who have never seen this kind of work before. So before I will link to my first question, I just want to go around and linking to what Pradeep was talking before about our languages. English is not my first language. It's not for Pradeep. I don't know for Anne and Rumi. So probably not. And I'm just going to suggest we introduce ourselves briefly in our mother tongue, just saying our names, where we are born, where we're from, and maybe a word or two about our work. So I will start. Olá, meu nome é Raquel, eu sou uma bailarina de Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, e trabalho com videodança já há 20 anos. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês. Okay, that was my introduction, so somebody can pick and continue.
Привіт. My introduction will be in Ukrainian. Привіт, мене звати Анна. Я живу в Амстердамі, але дитинство моє було в місті Херсон і в Києві. Зараз я працюю режисером чи режисеркою, бо зараз фемінітиви – це дуже популярно, і також креативним продюсером з мистецькими проектами, які поєднують that's very difficult to switch straight away. Anyway, yeah, that was it.
Great, thank you, Anna. Pradeep?
हॅलो नमस्ते माझं नाव प्रदीप आणि मी मुंबईतून आहे माझा जन्म मुंबईचा भारतामध्ये आणि मी आयर्लंड मध्ये 14 वर्षापासून आणि मला माझ्या भाषेत आणि माझ्या कल्चरल सांस्कृतिक पार्श्वभूमीतून आलेल्या स्टोरीज आलेल्या कथा आयरिश भाषेत आणि इंग्लिश भाषेत सांगायला आवडतं. आणि 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 ही जी फिल्म या उत्सवात दाखवली जाणार आहे, तर त्याची पार्श्वभूमी सुद्धा तीच आहे. सो मी सगळ्यांचा आभारी आहे की तुम्ही माझी चित्रफित फिल्म दाखवत आहात ब्राझीलमध्ये. हा एक खूप मोठा क्षण आहे माझ्यासाठी. नमस्ते.
Thank you, obrigado. Rumi?
So I'll start doing it, but it's funny because I'm half Dutch and half Indian, and my girlfriend's Portuguese. So I like of every language except Ukrainian, I could like understand a little. But I'll do it in Dutch because that's where I was born.
Okay.
Goedemiddag, mijn naam is Rumi en ik ben filmmaker uit Nederland. Ik ben half Indiaas, maar geboren in Nederland. En ik maak commercials, fictie, deze dansfilm gemaakt, muziekvideo's. Focus me nu voornamelijk op fictie. Ik ben ook bezig met een speelfilm. Dus, en ik vind het heel leuk dat ik mag meedoen aan het festival. Ik ben heel enthousiast.
Great. Thank you all.
Dank u wel.
Yeah. You said you live in Amsterdam, right?
Ja, I live in Amsterdam.
So you can understand me a little bit.
Ik spreek een klein beetje Nederlands.
Ah, goed.
Oh yeah, I love this international connection, and all my work is about migration and how people share stories and bring their own stories in different land and culture. So I'm loving this connection.
Great.
Well, this nice introduction we missed because don't speak the language that you were speaking.
But in a way, we get it, right? Because there is something that can be felt or understood, even if you don't understand exactly the words, I guess. And we'll talk a little about that when we talk about images and your work. So to link to my first question, I did this introduction about where your work will be shown to ask you, usually in the dance world, I'm a dancer, and I also work with video dance. One of the advantages of starting work with video dance is because your work can go to anywhere and we stay. You don't have to get air tickets to fly and to perform. So it became much more movable and accessible. So my question to you is, how far do you ever think about how far you want your work to go? Do you create your work thinking of who might be seeing your work or not, for which audience? And how does it feel to know your work might be seen by people who has never seen dance or film or any video dance before in their lives? Just to get a little context for where your work will be shown, and how does that relate to how you see your work spreading out to the world and to different audiences. So that's for the three of you. I have a few questions, so if you can just be, brief in each of them, and then if you have more time at the end, we'll continue. So just pick the order you want. It's open for anyone who wants to start.
I can start. So your first question was, how does it feel to have different countries looking at the film? Or I think you're muted. Or no?
Yeah, there's a few questions on the same question, but it's about the first, if you think about your audience when you create your work, if you imagine how far your work can be reached, and now your work will really reach to this very remote town in Brazil, and if you ever thought about that, and how does that just feel?
No, I think for me also, because I didn't make any dance film prior to this. I'm not also a dancer myself, but I worked for this. I haven't made a dance film since, not because I didn't like it, just didn't happen. But I feel like I'm, in that sense, the same as the audience. Like because I wasn't really experienced in anything regarding dance when making this. I became more experienced through this project and through the dancers I worked with. So I think it's exciting, and so I didn't make it specifically for a dance audience as well. So I think that for me, it's more about a specific theme, and I think that's also something quite universal. And that's also, for me, that was the interesting thing about working with dance, was that you can convey same messages in other ways, as you can do in dance, and that it's quite a universal language without you even completely understanding the art form or having experience in the art form, for me. So that was.
Thank you. Anna, do you want to follow up?
Yeah, I can follow up. Well, there are two dimensions to this question. Personal, of course, interesting to observe how your work spreads. And I had an honor to see this work in different environments and in different countries, like in a church or in the middle of the forest, or just like in a very unknown city in Italy, where a very beautiful community came together to celebrate short films, not only dance films. So, like, personally, it's enriching my life, but also, for instance, initiatives like yours makes you realize you keep on spreading this inspiration. So it enriches communities so far that you would probably never even physically visit. So, but thinking about it during making the film, no, that was just not on my mind. However, there was one particular audience that I had in mind, is the audience, like my friends and family and extended just cultural community in Ukraine and Russia, because my film is very colorful and queer. The aesthetics are could challenge audiences that are a little bit more conservative. So, for instance, I did think of even certain people in my family making this film, and I was like, I wish the person would fall in love with the figures, with the characters of the film, just by sheer beauty of the physical body, the movement, and just the whole image just makes you hypnotized, and like then you fall in love, and you understand, like, it doesn't matter whether it's a female or male, there's just beauty. So I did have that thought in mind. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Pradeep, you want to share?
For me, it was a different take. It was more activism, anger, as a queer person of color and immigrant, living in a predominantly white culture. Racism is something that people like me cannot avoid. So as an artist, I love to see how people want to see me, and at the same time, what culture and story I bring with me to this new land. So the whole theme is about migration, nostalgia of the land and language I left behind, and how I'm transitioning into new land and new culture. And at the same time, how I'm retaining my own identity in this new land. I don't want to fit in, but I want to live with my whole self and who I am. And I like to read mythologies, world mythologies. When I came to this Irish mythology, I realized that it was such a colonized by Christianity and Catholicism that they remove all non-binary and gender fluid references. And if you look at the world mythologies, all our mythologies from Africa, from Asia, from South America, all mythology, folklore, there is a predominant sense of gender fluidity, transitioning, and non-binary. So it is something core in me that I want to bring this the beauty of mythologies and folklores back from India and retelling them in Irish language and shot in the backdrop of beautiful Irish landscape. And I love that sexual and cultural tension between brown body and this landscape that expect to see only white person in the backdrop of that landscape and speaking certain language and telling certain stories. So that is something inspiring me to create this work and retelling the story with the contemporary sense. We all are migrating. We are all has some history. We, as our ancestors, our fathers, our mothers have changed the land, changed the countries, changed the languages, adopted the new ecosystem, and that all comes from our old folklore. There are references. So it is something artistic anger response to the racism.
Great, you're all already answering my follow-up question, so it's great. I'm gonna jump into something specific about dance. Although you're all have amazing backgrounds and you're all multi-artists, but I want to talk about specifically about your interest in dance in these works that you have shown. So Rumi already said it's his first time. So that would be my question. If it is your first time working with dance and dancers, what came about in this experience that was new to you, if that's the first time, or even if it's not, what movement gives you as an artist that maybe the other things that you work doesn't? What's the specificity about dance that attracts you, that interests you? If you could talk a bit about that, would be nice to hear.
Well, in like a fictional work, you're also very much conscious of how like your actors move, even if there's like dialogue and like this. And I when I started working with these dancers, I was a bit like unsure how to direct them, because for me it was like clear I wanted to make something that was about like desire and fantasy, and but I didn't know, I didn't have necessarily the language, I thought, to direct them through, because but the funny thing was, when I was rehearsing with them and we started talking about the subject and like what I wanted to say with the film, or at least maybe not say, but like what I want people to feel. I think just by them started giving me movements they wanted to do, I realized that it's quite similar in a way to like how you would direct actors. And in that sense, it came more naturally to me to understand what a movement could mean in a scene, like it does in fiction. So I feel I was very surprised how it was. I think it taught me a lot about like how like regular body movements in let's say like regular non-dance situations, how they are very similar to how to dance in a way, I think so. And I think that so it taught me a lot about like how focusing on movements in the body is a very powerful tool in telling some story.
Rumi, when did you said you had a theme clear to you? When did you realize you were going to work with dancers? Why not the same theme with actors, for example? When
Well,
you said, this maybe is a dance, dancers will be in it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's not a really romantic story. I guess it was like it's a very practical decision because we had like the opportunity to shoot on film, and we wanted to make something abstract, and it was kind of linked to a certain fund, so we had to make something abstract. We couldn't like make a regular short film, and that's in that way. And I was at a show of one of these dancers. I didn't know him then, and I sat at the front row, and as I said, I'm not like I wasn't really deep into this industry or like going to the shows that often or seeing things like this often. So and what I was really shocked by was like the way he danced. I thought was great, but then also the sounds he would make while dancing, like the breathing and like that kind of stuff. I realized this is like how powerful this is to like I completely understood what he was trying to tell me, like not only through the movements, maybe even less through the movements, but more like the sounds that his body makes. And that then it just kind of clicked, like I wanted to try doing something with him. So I think for me also like casting is very important. So for me all very much in a lot of projects for me it's like it could start with like I see a person and I want to make something around that person. That's how so I just walked up to him after the show and like, let's do something.
Nice. Yeah. Anna or Pradeep?
Yeah, so it was the core of retelling mythology and folklore from one culture to another culture. And also it is something cross connection of keeping the dance from one culture and the voice and tone or this audible aesthetic of the film will be from different cultures. So it was intentional decision, but also it was intentional because it is a very sad thing to how Indian dance is seen in Western world. There is a certain kind of very box, it is Indian traditional dance, and there were ornaments and their hand movements. So it is something like exotic, and we intentionally remove that exotic and present this ancient dance form called Bharatanatyam in contemporary aesthetic.
Right.
So the dancers are not wearing the traditional clothes and traditional ornaments. These people have moved in their life and they are exploring the new landscape, personal and also cultural. So how they see their own culture. Because it is also something conflicting because I don't like the way Indian dancers, traditional classical Indian dancers and music are presented in Western world. It is very post-colonial narrative because most of these dancers and the dance form, they come from the temple dance. And there was also caste and class system involved. So these dancers, when you see this British colonial old catalog, these dancers were underprivileged. They didn't get the resources, or they were outcasts. And also in the colonial time, dance and art was not something that citizens should do. So, and now you are looking this dance form, Indian dance form, oh wow, it's so posh and exotic, and watching them sipping glass of find. So we want to break that small baby step from this project, that we want to present the dance with very contemporary form, and that fusion of the dance form and the language, and even the makeups and everything that we designed. It was much different. If you see the blue color I applied on myself, I just steamed myself with the blue color. That was something direct reference to the David Bowie record that I heard in my childhood first time. Is Living with Alien, where he's that song is about he is alien and he's a blue. So that come from there. It is nothing to do with Shiva, because people see, oh, so you the god of blue color from Indian god Shiva. No, it has different reference. So again, it is the different statement there, like how we see our reality, how we see our nostalgia through the dance and moment.
Thank you. Anna?
Raquel, could you please repeat the question? Just
Sure. My question is, I know you're a sculptor, an artist, a visual artist too, and you also make many films. I saw a few of them. My interest is knowing what attracts you to dance, to create a dance film, and if this was your first time, and what movement can give you that your other works don't, and the specificity of this art form that attracted you.
Right. It does exist as an art form, dance, but it's also just a very natural human expression. And I think I'm personally a dancer first, because it's the way for me to connect to music. And I think that's one of my biggest sources of inspiration. And since early childhood, I was just dancing, participating in family parties and school, and just I think I would have been a professional dancer if that would be on the stars. But very early on, I discovered techno music and house music. Basically, since then, dancing became just a part of regular practice, like raves and parties. It's something that you just go, listen to music, and participate through dance. So basically, I had a career in radio that was also music related. And when I switched to filmmaking, I was still pointing the camera on the dancing people at the raves, at the parties, because for me that's just very natural. And honestly, I use a lot of metaphors from physicality, how the body moves. It's like I translate relationships into choreographies. So for me, it's the language that I understand extremely well. And I went to make a connection to my film. I went to a theater play and I saw a choreographer's work. Like I saw a play which basically condensed everything I think about dance and how it's important as a daily practice. And I was quite inspired, came and introduced myself, and 2 or 3 months later, we just shot this film in 2 days. So yeah, for me, that was, dance is just a regular practice. I cannot not dance. So I wish people would express themselves physically more, and I think the work that I do inspires people to just use the power of movement. You can make a funny move and you change the vibe in the room. So I think as consciousness moves through the body, that's like, yeah, if we want to be conscious and live a more fulfilled life, we all should move.
Nice. Thank you, guys. My next question has to do with the collaborative process that especially filmmaking. It's a big crew. Sometimes we do, if I can create a solo dance, I can go to the studio by myself. I can even go to the stage by myself. It can be very lonely. We usually don't work like that, but especially for films, you cannot do it alone. So I'm interested in listening the collaborative process for you guys. I mean, Rumi already said that he goes for people. He's interested in, specific people. You too, you said you grabbed the choreographer just to understand more how you work in terms of, putting your crew together, the people that you work, and how collaborative your work is. It tends to be more hierarchical. Each person has its role, or it's more mixed. So it would be interesting just to know your work and the process of creating and the collaborative aspect. So
I could just continue.
Go on. Yeah, go on.
I would refer to everything I've been just speaking about. For me, collaboration is like important essence of the process. And again, it's the roots of collaboration in the rave culture, where this do-it-yourself mentality, very horizontal, hierarchical relationships. So for me, it's really about choosing the right people. And with artistic work, it's especially important that you just connect on the personal basis. And that's why, for instance, for the physical culture, it was a highly collaborative process. We almost didn't have, we knew the form, we knew what we want to say, but we just like we didn't have a goal, but we did have a horizon to which we move. We approach the production in an unorthodox way, just brought a lot of tools, lights, and just technical things to create scenography, which would recreate rave. And basically, after each scene, we would all together come and like discuss, okay, what's next? And but I think that's very rare, and that's very you just need to have a certain type of personality, I guess. And again, I find them in music more often than anywhere else. And again, it's kind of natural. So I have a couple of other dance films, and they're in a way all out of the same mentality, just collaborating and allowing people to just lift you and you lift other people. So yeah, that's what for me is again the essence of dance, whether together with a partner, whether in a group, it's just a very natural movement.
Yeah, thank you.
Collaboration is something I found different, and there is a transitioning in my work, and I'm doing PhD. I'm building my PhD research on that, like when queer artists move from one land to other land in search of safety, how their art change and what is the effect. And that is something evident because the dance and art, what I used to do back in India 15, 16 years ago, it has changed completely. It has changed how I see the dance in my work. and how to use it as a tool. And that is something fascinating for me for the collaboration, because as an immigrant, it is challenging to having collaborative partners. Um, uh, and institutional support, it is difficult. So a lot of things, and then this collaboration happened with these years of friendships. So this dance researcher from India, and she was doing PhD in Dublin, and we just met and talked, and we talk about the same thing, that we don't like the way Indian classical dance present in Western hemisphere with something tantalizing colonial narrative or costume, and very specific gender role, how women presented in Indian classical dance, or how male presented. So it was very intentional collaborative work, but also it was a massive work, because I was rewriting this folklore, which is originally in the books of Mahabharata, and rewriting with very contemporary sense in my own language, then translating it in English, because I wanted to get it translated in Irish language, so the Irish language speaker cannot understand my language. So translating that in English, bringing that all emotions and aesthetic into English, it was challenging. Then bringing that in Gaelic, Irish language, because it is again, that language has a different nuance. So how to bring, not to having word to word translate, but having very keeping that emotions in that language, and then getting singer on board who can sing, and how to present the dance, because the Bharatanatyam dance has a specific movement to emote for the specific emotions or specific words. So how the emotion translate into Gaelic, or how the Gaelic translate into that. So it was amazing, beautiful, challenging, and my work is very spontaneous. So we rehearse, we discuss, we practice. But what happened in front of camera, it is not linear director. It is very spontaneous. So I give myself that freedom, and I also give my collaborator artists that freedom, that okay, we workshop, but that the workshop is just foundation. What we do in front of camera, it should be very spontaneous, and it will very immersive emotionally. And again, there was another thing happened, that this particular dance form that we want to do with keeping the aesthetics of dance movement, that you don't wear shoes, or male has to be cannot wear clothes to his upper body. So, and that was very challenging in Irish climate. We shot in February, March, where it was deadly cold, and we were dancing barefoot. And I was half naked in jungle. Literally, it was freezing cold, but we didn't feel that cold when we were in the sink and in the makeup and camera moment. It was something amazing experience, but that is but that experience only created with a collaborative work. I cannot do something alone. We need, and all the crew was straight, and we two people were queer, so it was another different dynamic. My cinematographer, who is my good friend, he's from Mexico, so he's from different culture.
Right.
And my producer was Irish, so it was a beautiful collective work that we bring it together, and that looks nice on the screen.
Nice. Thank you. Rumi, you want to share your collaborative process? How does it take place? How do you work usually?
I think for me, like practically, I would say it's like the traditional filmmaking way.
Okay.
But yeah, well, so specifically for this project, especially because I was new to dance, I had to like, I felt like my relationship with the dancers and uh, uh, yeah, the words I used to express what I wanted, like what we tried to achieve with the film um was kind of my only way of making the film.
Mhm.
I had to trust them, like basically doing everything else. uh,
Right.
because they were the dancers and also the choreographers, and I think so for me it's essential to work with people. Like I can't work alone. I become very depressed if I do something alone, always. So
Mhm.
I think that for me it's a vital part of making art. And yeah, I think um, you create very meaningful relationships for the project, but then afterwards you sometimes keep these relationships. And I think that's also what I really like about this work, about like making art in this way where it's um yeah, the relationships stay, and they become an important part of your life.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, specifically on this question, I think I just really enjoy working with people instead of alone. I think that's the reason why I would.
Yeah, it's more, I'm sure, I mean, we see the credits, it's a big crew for everybody. It's more like
Yeah.
role of each person. Did they keep doing what they were, asked to do, or
No,
they,
then I never ask anyone to do anything. Like it's more of like a conversation you're having with people.
okay.
Also because I don't feel like I know more than anyone else. Like I just know what I want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then I need all these people to do this because I can't do it alone. And why would I like impose then I don't know. I feel like yeah. So it's like, and on a practical side, I worked in the traditional filmmaking sense where there's like the role you have is what you do. But I think on a collaboration sense, it's very a fluid
Yeah.
thing where you exchange ideas and create relationships, and through that you create
Mhm.
art.
Great.
Like,
Pradeep already said about that, just a little segue of the same questions. If there is room for chance, for like improvisation, for something that you were not expecting, because I teach, I work in the university here in Brazil, and I teach the video dance discipline, and we get to study a lot of ways people work making films of dance. And some people just need to rehearse exactly the thing and then they just go and film. Some people go to the location and then the location will transform what they were originally thinking. I'm just curious to know how you work. If you
okay,
need a
now
lot of, I mean, from seeing your work, I could tell there's a lot of rehearsal involved, of
yeah,
course.
okay. So
Tired,
in that,
but
now I understand
once you're there, maybe
yeah,
you change your mind for something that you haven't seen before.
yeah, no. So now I understand your question. Um, so everything is very meticulously thought of before
Yeah.
going to shoot.
Uh-huh.
And I do this because I have to, like I can't, like I need to think of everything. And then on set I'm very free. So but
Uh-huh.
I prepare everything, like every single detail on forehand, and then
Yeah.
I create room through this for improvisation. But
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't just go somewhere just like, okay, let's just see what
Let it.
happens. But
Uh-huh.
and I think for this film, um there is the if you because we shot one part in like the dunes, and that's
Yeah.
quite a difficult environment to just dance because you're on sand and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that like what is interesting is that you think of something and it becomes different because of the environment, and then you start playing with this instead of like rejecting it. And like that's, I think, for me, so create like boundaries. Yeah, because in the end it's like for example, with a regular film, like I made a film about like toxic male culture on and like street football cages. We have these cages in Amsterdam, I think, I don't know, probably all over the world. You have these cages where they play football, which seems kind of innocent, but it's actually like it's like a breeding ground for like toxic male behavior, I would say, which I've experienced myself. And I think those I cast like just kids who had never acted. I do that all the time. And that arena, that cage I mean, I've thought of everything I wanted to do, but then when they're in this cage or in this arena where I shoot the film, I feel like I have to let them exist in the way they want to exist, and then just trying to steer this a little bit. Like, and I think especially for this project with the in the dance film, where I had less of a let's say theoretical notion of what I was doing, more like just intuitively. I feel like there's a lot of there was a lot of freedom on shooting, but always prepare everything very.
Yeah, and has to do with money too, right? You cannot just afford to go to the setting and not having things.
Unfortunately, yeah. So that's also that's
Yeah.
less of a reason to be proud of, I guess, but it's also very much. But I think also when you plan, I mean, especially if you don't have a lot of money, I think then planning is even more important if you want freedom, you know, because if you need to capture certain things, you're still telling a story, even how if it's very abstract. So I think yeah, I think so, yeah. But in this sense, collaboration is even more essential, because if you don't collaborate well and you start improvising on set, or like if you're not on the same page, you know, and yeah, therefore you need trust and good relationship.
Thank you. Anna, you want to say something?
I want to say something. Rumi just touched one beautiful point, the spontaneity, you know? So, and on location, and how that brings something new. So it was much in my all films. I choose the location. It is not something that random decision. It was very hard decision research. So for this particular, we chose the locations that were the remains of colonial impact in Ireland. So Ireland has a very bad colonial past of British, and it was the twist and conflict between the evangelical Protestant and Catholics, and that was the narrative I try to bring that narrative visually, because I am the victim of the same evangelical Protestant colonial impact in my land. How that has twisted and turned my identity as a queer person. And because of that I had to leave my country. You know, I had to find somewhere safe space, because there is a law that's still there. It was still the part of constitution. And coming to the land where now the homosexuality is not crime anymore, and then it is kind of waning. So dancing on this structure, those built by evangelical Protestant colonizers, and dancing in front of them with freedom. So that brings so much emotion for both of us, Subhashini and me. And whatever we rehearse, it becomes more emotional on that location. Even it was very freezing cold. It was -3 degrees, but we were dancing barefoot, and I was half naked in that, and that brings so much emotion there. So yeah, so we design very meticulously, but I keep this room for self-expression and spontaneity at the location. What will happen in the camera? And I told the camera person, the cinematographer, just keep shooting, don't stop, because these are the moments that we cannot be created in retake. And that's the film. If you see, there is no retake, there is no undo, there is everything that is raw happen in front of them. And that's the beauty I have.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
I could follow up on this question by highlighting how spontaneity is just important for artistic process, whether you are like really prepared for your shoot, then things can still go different. And until now, I didn't have like really like things went wrong. No, it's just different. So basically, you could prepare, like I had a production once for a dance film, for a dance performance, which was even pre-edited just on a track. Then we just had to go and shoot it. And part of it was indoors and other part was outdoors. And once we came to outdoors, the field where the dance, the final climax dance had to happen, it was just plowed. It was impossible to dance. And it's like, oh my God, but we have like everything we set up for this particular shot. We had a table, wooden table, which is just there of the picturesque environment. And well, yeah, you had to move everything, move that 200-kilo table in the middle of some other field. And eventually, maybe it was even better. Maybe that change was really something that had to happen. And of course, like sometimes working with the elements, you could come and prepare like your storyboard, all the different shots for the dance, and then you just have 1 or 2 takes because the sun breaks. Just like that's what you have, and you just roll, and that's what it becomes. So I almost became religious from all the art making or just filmmaking experience, that you could prepare, do your homework, but then invite the spirit to join the process and just let it also participate in a way, not to force certain visions, not to get upset when they don't happen, but just exactly have the flexibility like in dance. So I think if you teach children or any young filmmakers, you should just be brave and embrace what comes your way, because it can be a gift you cannot recognize in a moment, because of course you're on adrenaline, like Rumi were saying, you have a crew, you have money and everything, you just need to get your shots so you don't struggle in the edit. And but at the same time, that's just very playful, at least in the dance, screen dance genre. It's a playful genre. You just, need to play.
Nice. Thank you. Guys, I guess we are reaching our limit. I had now one question for each of you, but we are not going to have time to go too deep in details about each of your pieces, but I guess we can use 1 minute each just to share something about this work or about you or any other thing that we didn't cover. Of course, we didn't cover even half of what you could be sharing, but thank you so much for being here, for being interested in this festival, interested in Brazil. Come and visit us if you want, and follow our work here too. We live in a different context. I saw, the credits at the end of each of your work. I mean, usually our works in film are not funded at all, especially in dance. So it's like 3 people, 4 people doing everything. So it's a different reality, and but they're beautiful works made here, and would be nice to share that too with you. If you can watch the ones that were selected in this festival, so we'll be sharing also works with your work. And so maybe a final word, each of you, if you want to just share something that you think would be nice for people to know more about you or your work, or this specific piece that you're sharing in Brazil, that'll be great. We just have a minute
Yeah.
for each.
So I will go first. So first of all, I would like to thank you, my collaborative artist, Subhashini Gowda. As an immigrant woman from global south, it takes hard to come to the Western country for studying and doing research and PhD. So I think it wouldn't have been without her, because it was her in my mind when I was writing. And I think I'm also developing few more work on the same track of Asian mythology translating into Irish language. So I'm working on that. And thank you all, and thank you all these artists who got selected, and thank you for selecting us. Show hunger for the work meant to be shown in very positive and celebratory light. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you so much.
Should I go?
Is that you?
No, thank you so much for having us. I mean, thank you for this conversation. It was really nice. Well, yeah, I'm working on some new films. I'm actually planning to go to Brazil soon for the first
Nice.
time. Really want to go.
Yeah,
So yeah, well, thank you.
sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Wow. And thank you from me. And, you know, I know Brazil from being there once a few years ago, and the culture is rich in music and in dance, and like watching videos of my friends from Carnival. That's when you come together and you dance. Like, I think in your context, Brazilian culture is a lot of physicality, you know,
Yeah.
and my
Mhm.
film is called Physical Culture, and from my perspective is this individual physicality, the archive of all the experiences which is stored in the body that we constantly carry with us all the places we go. So with my film and with whatever work I do, I just wish to turn the attention to the body, that it's the source of a lot of information. And now in this information age, our attention is focused outside, and books, films, podcasts, everything. But actually inside, we have a wealth of knowledge, and by learning to listen to it, learning to move with it, learning to like free it, let go, I think that's at least my motivation and my inspiration lies for physical culture, and in general for whatever work I do. It's very immersive in your physicality, in your emotions. So I just wish everyone to be hypnotized and have this moment for themselves when watching the film, and also listening, because it's very, again, physicality comes in the soundtrack, and just connect with yourself and with your fellow humans.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, guys. You receive all the what happened in this time here. It's going to be end of June 30th to July 9th. So you're going to get all the reports of the showing of your work and other work. So enjoy that. And thank you so much. Again, congratulations for your work and see you soon. Keep in touch. We will be here.
Yeah, thank you so
with us.
much. Have fun
you.
and good luck with preparations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.